Okay, other ideas or questions on the discovery call? Has anyone here watched my actual discovery call? Like the full thing with the example person?
Like the one from a long time ago?
Well, there's a whole library of them right now. I think there's 6 or 5 in the course.
Yeah, I think I've watched a couple.
Right,
I've watched a couple too.
right.
Hmm.
But so, is it making sense based on
It didn't make sense before 102.
Okay, yeah, exactly. I
Hmm.
agree with that. I agree with that. Right. But now do you see like that I'm really using the hypnotic conversation the whole time, no matter if it's a discovery call or a session?
Hmm.
Okay, so what do you do when they object? What do you do when the client objects? Oh, I don't know if this is going to work for me. Oh, I've had this problem forever. I doubt this will work.
Tell
What
a
do you
Bring up,
story.
yeah, past clients or educate.
Exactly. You only have 2 options, and they're both
Mhm.
motivational. What if they're not objecting but just talking?
Let them talk.
Listen.
And then how do you decide what to say next?
We'll look at our categories.
Where are the cat? Yeah.
First,
Categories.
first unconscious moment.
Mhm.
Don't talk unless they're unconscious. When they're unconscious, when they're looking up, when they're pausing, when they're crying, when they start to give you their real heart, then use a motivational question, either off the 70-page one or just relevant to the context, but towards motivation. And then repeat the same thing again. Wait until you hear a UM. Either motivate, share, past client, or educate. It's formulaic. Detach from everything else. Detach from if they're buying it. Detach from if you think they're on board with you. I'm totally detached from everything else because whatever's going to happen is going to happen, whether I force it or not. So why worry? Spend
But
that time generating another client fall, huh?
I think that's how what Jody highlighted too. Like, I've taken this stuff with Scott, and it's like when you only have 101, it's like, yeah, I get all this, but I don't know how to package this so that people will buy. I'm just asking them a whole bunch of questions.
I know.
And I know being a therapist for a while, that doesn't work. It just usually pisses people off.
Agree.
So it's difficult to see,
Yeah.
okay, I don't know how to take this. But you're right, like what you just said, it's formulaic. And by using a structure, it makes sense moving forward. But even with the discovery call, I've been trying to do 101 with clients only on its own. And we've talked about that. I get to almost there and then, okay, time's up because I have
Yeah.
50 minutes.
And so, I mean, I still think that you need to allow more time, so I'm not going to change
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But also, I will say now that you can motivate inside of that 50 minutes, obviously you're going to need more time for motivation, but less time to undo knots. So can you see now how much easier that inquiry is going to get? Because the whole thing is no longer on you.
And I see that there has always been excitement when I talk about whatever level of hypnosis that I do. And because I wasn't doing a discovery call on the ones that were excited, we never built up the motivation and choice. So it wasn't as effective. And then they lose the belief in
Exactly.
the in hypnosis being
That's right.
a pathway to breakthrough.
Moreover, people don't know what the end goal is without the discovery call, so they don't know how to orient themselves. That's a huge problem.
Mm.
If you just sell it in the session, like, oh, well, I do another thing and, maybe you want to sign up for it. It's like, well, that sounds good and exciting, but they still don't know, like, well, what's the point of that? What's going to happen at the end of that?
Or they would say, why would I move from this current model?
Exactly. And what would you say then? Then you educate them.
Hmm.
That's when the education comes in. Like, well, here's the old model, here's the new model. This is how they're different.
Hmm.
I have a little like laminated picture of the mind over here that I pull out like a fucking old school teacher when people resist their mind or when they resist hypnosis, I actually just pull it out and explain it again. Well, here's the difference between the subconscious and the conscious. Here's why I'm doing it this way. Here's why I don't do inductions. I'll educate them as many times as they want or need. I will say I'm different than Scott in the sense that Scott is very much on the side of like the clients don't need to know, the clients don't care. And I love Scott. I have infinite respect for him. I'm not trying to take away from him right now. But what I am saying is I think the clients actually deserve to know something. I do think clients are intelligent. I do think clients investigate methods. I don't think it helps to overwhelm them. I don't think it helps to treat them like they're clinicians because they're regular people. But I think out of respect, it's like when you go to the dentist, back to the dentist, like, well, do I need to know how the machine works? No. But do I need to know like how long it's going to take for me in the chair and what is the material of the crown and how much pain? Like, yes, these are things I do want to have a conversation about. Maybe I do want to ask her, like, well, where is the crown made? And, how does it get to your office? Like, that's not unreasonable. So it's the same for me here. Like, no, everyone has a different level of curiosity. Everyone has a different level of intellectual, ability based on what they're showing me. I'll educate them more or less. Some people, by the way, here, I'll give you this last example, and then let's take a break so we can get on to this afternoon. Here's a very interesting case that I have going right now. Super weird. I mean, they're all super weird, aren't they? So, and I had to answer questions for 100 motherfucking minutes.
Oh, shit.
That's what I did though. I sat there with him and I said, you read it, I'll answer. You read it, I'll answer. We went through all of it. Then he had his second session and had his breakthrough. So is it perfect? No. But the answer was to Gilles' question of that's the responsibility that we're taking on is the client is owed as much as they're willing to ask. If I make that agreement, I'm going to follow through with it. Did I like that it cost me that extra? No. Did I enjoy those 2 hours? Not exactly. Did I learn something? Kind of. My choice to take them on and also my choice to carry it through.
What kind of questions were they? Was it like questioning why you did what you did throughout the session?
Or is it more like categories?
I could not even remember. I blocked the whole thing out of my head. I don't know. It was all, but if this, then that, like one of the questions I remember he said was, but now that we've had the first session, how is that different from CBT? All we talked about was ways to think about what I'm thinking about. So I had to explain to him, well, but that's not what we did. We did not come out with a piece of paper that had all your rules on it that you're supposed to follow. How are you supposed to remember what to do in CBT? Well, did we do that? And then he's like, no. Okay, well, so I'm asking him, so how do you remember how our session went if we didn't do the CBT model? And he's like, well, I don't know. I answered the questions and it just comes to me when I'm going through my life. I'm like, well, how is that different than CBT? And he's like, well, I don't have to like reference my rule sheet. And I'm like, but you just told me that it was like CBT and now you're telling me it's not. So which is it? And then he says, oh yeah, you're right. It's not. I just remembered. I'm like, well, isn't that easier? Yeah. Isn't that what I told you my system was going to do? Yeah. Okay. So what's the problem? But that took me 10 minutes.
Oh.
But so it was one of those after another. But what I'm trying to show about that guy is frustrating as it was, and annoying in a way for me as it is, because I'm just watching the guy suffer for no good reason. But answering his questions is part of his healing. So I don't care how we get there. I'll get there however we're going to get there. That 90 minutes I spent was a much better investment than trying to get out of it and drag him through the second session without information, because that would have been like the end of our relationship. So that's what I'm trying to say to you is like, it depends on the client. It depends on what their personality is. It depends on their needs. If you meet them and it's remember the slide from yesterday, where my last slide where I'm like, give the client everything they ask for. Don't leave any stone unturned, then your job will be good and complete. That's how I feel about this guy. I guarantee I get a good review out of him. I'm 100% sure. And that was very hard to get. Like I put that one as a feather in my cap.
You earned that one.
Way and more.
He made you earn it.
He made me earn it. It's okay though. Could I
Yeah.
do all of those? No, I couldn't handle that all the time. But it is what it is. He has a very good heart, very good intentions, very earnest, very willing. Those are very important qualities to me. If he had been like difficult or mean or malicious or any of those things, I wouldn't have done it. But
Okay.
he really wants it. He really has a soft heart. It's just hard for him. Really hard for him to get out of that. It's okay. I get that.
Yeah.
You have to live with yourself. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
You have to live with yourself. If I had not answered the whole thing in detail, I would have to live with the fact that I gave him short shrift, and that's not a good service.
He reminds me of a client I had who was very analytical. It was ages ago. It was an RTT session. And as I was doing it, he kept saying through well, how will I know? How will I know? How will I
Exactly.
know? He
But
kept,
so people do that to me too in conversational. What do you do when they
yeah,
say, well, is it happening? Sometimes they say, like, am I hypnotized? What do you say? They interrupt themselves. What do you do? What do you
I
do
don't
then?
know, are you? I don't
How do
know, are you?
all right. How do you feel? Is anything happening? What's going on? How would we know? Or if they're really skeptical and like to the point of questioning, you say, okay, well, let's stop the session and talk about what hypnosis is so that we can get clear on that. Because I don't know why you're asking me that in the middle of it. I will do that. I don't care.
Hmm.
I always tell you guys about the lady who told me I was doing it all wrong because she had Googled it. Remember what I said to her? That's cool. You want to sit here? I'll sit over there. We'll just switch. And she's looking at me like, bitch. But she didn't switch and she got her transformation. So, whatever.
so you would stop in that situation and
Yep.
do a bit of education and move on?
I'm a real all the way. I'm a real person. I'm not here to pull the wool over your eyes. I'm not here to do any smoke and mirrors. I'm not here to convince you. I'm not into covert hypnosis. No, none of those things are me. I'm just the real deal, raw, no bullshit. You want to have a conversation about why we're here? Fine, let's do it. You're paying me. I don't care. I don't care what we're doing. You don't agree with my approach? You want more, description? You want more explanation? Fine. Like I said, just like the dentist. What if you're in the dentist chair and you're crying and you're like, but this isn't what you said was gonna happen. What is the dentist gonna do? Is she gonna be like, bah! She's gonna be like, okay, let me stop for a second. I'll leave you there with your whole appliance in your face, just like I leave the client here sitting here in hypnosis. But she'll stop and say, why are you scared? What's going on? What can I do? I will do the same thing. I'm a human being. I know people have questions, people get scared. That's the whole thing with level two is like nothing can phase me. I can always have an in. If you make me stop, I have a way back in, which is just using motivation. So then they go through their little thing. Okay, yeah, that's cool. And so then I just go back to, so tell me again what you blah, blah, blah.
Well, my dentist didn't say that to me the other day. He kept saying halfway through was, oh, who would have thought this be a tooth all the way back there? Because he was having really a lot of difficulty drilling. And I was really uncomfortable in the chair. And he kept going on. And he was like blaming the tooth for where it was in my mouth. He just kept saying, like, oh, that tooth is so far back. Like,
I
who
have
would?
a I have thousands of ideas, as you guys know. One of them is I'm going to record a course which is hypnosis for dentists. And we should send it to that guy so that he can take the course because those are such anti-hypnotic things to say and they're like freaking people out. So we need to have a course for all of that. Also, I think I could do one for bedside manner for surgeons, doctors.
Yeah, he was an oddball. And he has this
These are
weird.
all,
I didn't answer him. I just didn't say anything.
I know. Well, you're thinking laying there, that's so like the stupidest hypnotism I've ever heard. Thanks a lot.
Like, what am I supposed to say to that? Oh, sorry, I designed my teeth incorrectly in my mouth.
I went to the dentist pretty recently and she was like, I'm going to do your blood pressure. And I was like, wait, I want to see how low I can get it. And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, I'm going to use my mind to like bring it lower than anyone has had all week. And she was like, what are you talking about? I was like, just give me a second. And she does it. And she's like, how did you do that? It was just so fun. I was like, isn't that weird? I just hypnotized myself to lower my blood pressure. She was like, I'm like, what medical school did you go to? How is it that people don't know that you can use your mind?
Mhm.
I mean, it's just so weird, right? Why am I the one telling the medical staff that? Anyway, it cracked me up.
I have a
But,
logistical question.
oh, sure.
When you have someone come and sit in your office, like in person,
Mm.
what do you do about the hour rest after?
Good question. So this will be
Mhm.
a first deal too, because I think you're going to have a live practice as well. So when people come on the discovery call, I give them options. So watch this part of the discovery call. So my live option is more expensive than my in-person option. By the way, when they ask you why that is, you say because it's more work for me, because that's the
Mhm.
honest answer. So I always tell people the truth about that. But then I say, one reason that I would prefer to see you on Zoom, or I prefer Zoom, is so you can rest right after. I really think that's important. So I tell the client, not only do you save the $300, but also you're going to have the best post treatment, post session care in your own home. Sometimes people insist. Okay, but I'm a senior. Okay, but I always do things live. If they go in that direction, then I say, well, it's no different to me. You're going to pay me a little extra. And afterwards, you're going to also have to follow the same protocol. So that means if you drive here, I need you to walk around the block, go to the park, go get a coffee, sit in your car in silence. Or I need you to, plan to be picked up and rest after. So I will prime them for that right then,
Mm.
so that when they get here, we don't have to have that conversation. If you don't prepare them for that, they will misplan it, and then it'll be your problem that they don't have processing time. That's why I book the first session live with the client, because that
Mhm.
conversation I realized is actually much more important than I thought. I used to just let them book through the app, but then they would book these fucking ridiculous times that didn't correspond to the instructions I gave. And by the way, when they ask me what that's all about, I say it's like your computer has tabs. Like when you open Chrome, you can open 5 tabs or you can open 20 tabs. If you open 20 tabs and start to download things on all of them will be slow. So I say your brain's the same. I just did a lot of work on opening some tabs that need your full bandwidth right now. If we open a bunch more tabs, the tabs we just worked on are going to have less bandwidth. So I don't want you to open all the new tabs. That's how I explain to them. You can't go back to work. You can't go back to real life. And then they always have some stupid question about like, well, I have a dinner that night or I have a party or like I'll be dressed in my whatever. Is that okay? Like, then you just troubleshoot all the little details,
Mhm.
get it down to a plan. But don't forget that that processing is what you've invested in. So if you don't promote that and encourage it and remind them it's part of the process, then you fuck your own MOS. Processing does all the work for you. It's you going with the client home. Don't interrupt that. And that's Erickson. That's
Mhm.
Ericksonian. That's a huge, huge piece of what we're doing. That's very different than what the therapist is doing. The therapist says, see you next week. What does that do? Shuts the door on processing.
Mhm.
Boom. Client is like, oh, my work is done. She'll help me again next week. No, I have jack shit to do. And then their life doesn't change. Then they're like, therapy doesn't work. Well, yeah, because you just told me not to do anything. Like ludicrous. Makes no sense at all. Just remember that you are the expert on how the mind actually works.
Mhm.
All the other people are the experts on theories of the mind, but we're experts on practical discharging of the mind at work. So because that's your expertise, that's why you have to set it up correctly. And that's why the discovery call is literally worth the $3,000 or the $2,000 or whatever you're charging. Royce, you're muted.
Do you have, after the discovery call and then they buy the session, then do you send an email explaining the process?
So remember, just rewind this video when you rewatch it, because I just talked through that whole thing when Jody asked me her question a few minutes ago. Maybe it was 20 minutes ago now, but I talked through the whole thing, which I should do in process. I do it in the incubator too, which you're in. So you have access to that too. But the process is one form for discovery call, live call, follow up on email, including description of what happened, intake, payment, instructions. Those instructions are very important because those are where I say things like, if you're on psychoactive medication, tell me now. If you have a psychiatrist, write them an email today. I'm telling people flat out, hey, these are the instructions, do them. If you don't pay, I'm going to cancel you. So that email is very valuable because it's not signed, but it's the first level of me saying, here are the terms of engagement. Your next step is to sign this document in terms of an intake form. But do you see how important that is in terms of A, disclosure, B, rapport, and C, creating expectation? By the way, when you get to my intake form, it gets even longer. It's not just who's your doctor or who do I call in an emergency, but it's also things like, what's your name for God and what have you not told me so far? And
So where are you saying you
and what
have
I wanted to say is also in the intake form is 5 sentences, which are things like, I take responsibility for this fully, and I will not blame other people if it doesn't work. Like I have you guys can go copy it off of my own website, but I have also a list of things that I'm getting them to read, which I don't know if they read it or not, but which are explicit agreements. Like, I won't blame others for this process. I will take responsibility for it. I will be on time. I will care about this process. I will treat the hypnotist with respect. Like all kinds of things that I am serious about.